Welcome to the Boss and the Sauce Show, American Athletic Conference Preview East. Let's go. What up, though? I'm so excited today. We're going into the conferences of college football, and I got my man, BigRagoo, right here. What up, Ragoo? Holla at the people for me.
Hey, DJ, listen. We've been talking about these magazines for 4 weeks now, and now today we finally get to break them down team by team, conference by conference, and let's talk meat and potatoes, let's talk numbers, let's talk W's, let's talk coaches, let's talk college football today.
Hey, and don't forget that we're going to talk some betting, too, at the end of each one of these conference breakdowns right here. So I'm totally excited to get this going. As a matter of fact, you know what, BigRagoo? Let's go ahead and jump off into the first one in the AAC, I'm sorry. And we're going with Cincinnati. Let's go check them out. Let's go right to it. AAC. First off, we're going to the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, this team is coming off an 11-2 season. They're located out in Cincinnati, Ohio. Coach Lou Fickell enters his third year on this one. Now, here's the exciting part. They're returning 6 on offense, 5 on defense. Now, on offense, they're returning a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver. That's a 3-man tandem right there. And on top of that, they're also returning a tight end, a right guard, and a right tackle. So the blocking's on lock as well. Now, over on defense, they're returning 5. They're returning 2 at the linebacker position. That always helps your tackling. And then they're also returning a cornerback and 2 safeties, which also is going to mean they're going to be locked down on the deep ball. And that's where you need to be. Nowadays, the best team has a nice meshed lineup out there with the safeties and the corners to where they can keep those long passes down. And they see a nice future right here with Cincinnati. Don't be surprised if they end up in the top 10. So, BigRagoo, what do you think about Lou Fickell and the Cincinnati Bearcats?
So, Lou Fickell, his first year, if he's 15-10 in 2 years and he had 11-2 season, that means he made up 8 losses over the first year. That's a pretty good return for a second-year coach, I think so. And usually the third year is like the best year as far as recruiting goes for the coach to put a system in place. So being that he has a fair amount of guys coming back on offense, like you said, the right side of the line looks pretty solid. Skill positions look good. Maybe the left side, maybe a little weak, a little young there. And on the defensive side is where their big strengths were last year because they were the #1 team in the AAC on defense, giving up like 17 points on average in that high potent AAC offensive scheme of the way they play football over there. Going forward, I think if he kind of tightens that D up and keeps those pieces intact there and see some more improvement on the offensive side, which I think even on the offense, they were like top 2, top 3 in the division. Going forward, this team is predicted in some of the polls is to win their conference. So I think there's nothing but good things on the horizon for Cincinnati. I don't think they're going to have a letdown, but it's going to be a competitive season for them like it always is because with UCF in their division and USF, those are some high-powered teams. And then on the other side, you have Memphis and Houston. So it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out season for them. If they can stay healthy, I think they'll be in a good spot going forward for the 2019 season.
Now, let's take a look at their schedule, though. Now, coming off of 11-2 last year, where they lost to Temple and UCF, this year they start off with UCLA. They also have Ohio State to see. They got to see UCF again this year. They got to go to Houston, and they finish off with Memphis. Do you see any other games in there? Now, I'm looking at this lineup of the tough games. I figure that they have a good chance of passing all these games. Ohio State and UCLA should be the toughest opponents, win, lose, or draw after those 2 games. If they're not too banged up, then they should build off of that. Do you see any spotlight games over there for them?
Well, I see 2 snipe games for them. When I say snipe, I mean these are games that they might have to be looking over the bushes to make sure they don't get taken out. I mean, they could very well start off 0-2, going out and playing. They have to play UCLA at home. Then they have to go to the Horseshoe in Columbus and play Ohio State. That's going to be a tough game for them to pull off. It's an Ohio game. Both teams are from Ohio. And then they got to play at home versus UCF, like you said, in October. But the team they're going to have circled on their schedule is the team that they lost to last year late in the season. And they better not look past them because they got to play Memphis the last game of the season. And Temple beat them in OT last year. So you better believe they got that circled on their schedule to not look ahead on that one because they play Memphis the last game. But Connecticut's pretty light. East Carolina's light. Tulsa's one of those teams where they have pretty good defense, but 0 offense. So, realistically, they're projecting them 8-4. I can see them going 9-3, possibly, maybe even 10-2, and then who knows with the bowl game who they'll wind up playing. But I see good things for this team. Tougher schedule than last year, I would think, with those 2 openers at UCLA and Ohio State. I like this team a lot. I mean, they're projected number 1 in a lot of polls. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think if they can stay healthy, they make it to the conference finals right here. And I'm down on UCF this year, so I think they could get over them. Maybe, like you said, Ohio State and UCLA will probably be the toughest challenge for them, and definitely see 10-3, 10-3, or 9-3, 10-2 type season right here. That sounds good to me. But there it is right there, y'all. That's Cincinnati Bearcats wrapped up right here on the Boss and the Sauce show. This is how we do it. Let's get into the next team. Let's go, y'all. We right back at it with the Connecticut Huskies and the AAC. Now, this team is coming off a 1-11 year, and Coach Esau is back on his second tenure in his 3rd year coaching here. And guess what? He gets a lot of players back this time. He's getting 6 on offense, 9 on defense. Now, he's not getting the quarterback back, but he's getting 4 returners on the offensive line. He gets his running back and also a wide receiver. That's enough to make it happen right there. Then we flip the script to defense, where he's getting a defensive end, a defensive tackle, another defensive tackle, a linebacker, another linebacker, 2 cornerbacks, and 1 safety. All returners. Now, we know what returners do. They do a better job and help out the whole overall of the whole team. So I do expect them to go better than 1-11 this year. But, BigRagoo, what you think about this Connecticut team?
Connecticut, what can we say about Connecticut? 1-11. Randy Edsall coming back, second tenure. But man, oh man, this team gave up 50 points a game last year. Only the second time in FBS history where a team has averaged more than 50 points. Even with the returning starters, I think they could find a spot for me and you on that team to get on the field to help these guys out. They're going to need it. They were number 12 overall in conference in defense. And, like I say, 50 points plus, that's way, way, way down on the bottom of the FBS rankings. And then on offense, they were dead last on the offense in the ACC too. Or the AAC, excuse me. So, I mean, if there's any room for improvement, I mean, heck, there's nowhere to go up from being from the bottom of this team. So, schedule-wise, they have the same suspects they're going to play in conference. Outside of conference, they're opening up against Wagner, so maybe that's a winnable game for them. And they do play a couple Big Ten teams early. They play Indiana and Illinois early in the season. And then they finish up somewhere in the middle. They play UMass, which UMass is a pretty good little squad, former Division II champs way back when. So I think Connecticut has got their work cut out for them. The only solid thing, like you were saying, with the returning starters, they should improve. They should at least get a better game plan together. These kids are coming back into Coach Edsall's system. Now, Edsall's a pretty good coach because when Connecticut was pretty good years ago, it's the same coach that was there. So like him, third year back, they say coming back, it's always about recruiting and getting them to play in the system. So I think they'll definitely play better ball this year. How much better, I can't tell you.
Well, it's kind of like publicity, and any publicity is good publicity. So they'll take whatever they can get this year, and I'm sure that they'll do a lot better than this 1-11 that they did last year. This year they do go to Central Florida to play Central Florida. They draw Houston. They also draw Cincinnati at Cincinnati, and they also draw Temple at Temple. So they're going to be on the road a lot. This is I guess, more or less a senior group we're here with a lot of returners. They could pull it together and pull off a few upsets. I'll keep my eye on that. Now, this team has went through 7 offensive coordinators in 7 years now, and they're averaging about 376 total yards a game. I do expect that to go up a little bit, maybe to around the 410 or so, and their points per game should go up a little bit with that, and the defense should hold it down a little. So even though it is such a bad team and they're at the bottom, I expect a little better out of them this year, and I'm definitely going to be looking for them to surprise some teams and hit them with an upset. But that's my take on it. You got any more things on this team right here, BigRagoo?
No, the jury's going to be out for me on these guys, but they're from my old stomping grounds up in the Northeast, and I know I've watched the program grow when it was just, Connecticut was known for a basketball school, and Edsel is actually the guy that put the team on the map years ago. He's been coaching for over 18 years in NCAA, and most of that, and when he started out, was actually in Connecticut. So you turn him back the clock 20 years ago is when he put the program on the map, and they were a pretty good football program back then for being a new squad, coming on to the Division I scene. They made some noise pretty quick. So maybe he can bring them back. How far back remains to be seen, but they got nowhere to go but up.
Well, there it is here. You heard it here first on the Boss and the Sauce Show. We're going to go ahead and land that plane, and we're going to go ahead and take off with the next team. Let's go. ECU. ECU. Yes, the East Carolina Pirates out of Greenville, North Carolina, coming off a 3-9 season with first-year coach Mike Houston, who inherits 4 on offense and a whopping 8 on defense. Oh, my God. And on offense, he's getting a quarterback back, he's getting a wide receiver, and he's also getting 2 offensive linemen to go with that. So he could do a little something there. But on defense, he returns a defensive end, a nose tackle, 2 linebackers, a cornerback, and a free safety. So if they can hold it down a little better than they did last year, this guy might be able to shock them. But I don't know. They're bottom of the barrel right here. What you think about this team, BigRagoo?
They're just a hair below Connecticut, or above, I should say, not below. They're just a hair above Connecticut. They were like 11th in defense and 11th on offense. They were averaging 38 points a game on the defensive side, yielding 38 points a game. And I think scoring-wise, they were like right above 20, like 21 points a game. You got a first-year coach. You got a kind of real light on the offensive side. You got 4 returning starters. No QB, like you said. And he's got a junior. Well, I take that back. He's got a junior quarterback. He's got the left side. He's got a guard, a tackle, and a center. And then on the defensive side, probably a little more strength over there on the defense. But they're going to need it, giving up 38 points a game last year. And a first-year coach. So they're definitely in rebuild mode. They got them projected to win 4 games this year. 5th on the east side of the conference, but they're probably out of two divisions. There's 6 teams in each division, so they're probably like the second lowest team ranked in the conference overall. So I don't see a lot of room for improvement on the offensive side. Maybe the defensive side with the rebuild mode, and so when they're young, new coach. So, like I say, probably 4-8 is probably an accurate depiction of their schedule, what's going to happen. You want to look at the schedule and see who they got coming up out of conference and in conference?
Well, let's take a look at it. So last year, they beat Connecticut, they beat Old Dominion, and they also beat North Carolina. Now, this year, the tough games that I see is they have to go to NC State. They have to play Temple at home. They have to go to UCF, and they also have to play Cincinnati. So if you take those 4 off of top, and they still got a chance at another 6 or 7 wins, and they're not going to be on the road a lot. Well, yeah, they are. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 road games, so they are going to be on the road. I could say we're looking at another 3-9 season right here. We're probably going to come up with the same thing. New head coach, you know, he inherits a quarterback, but that could also, if the quarterback doesn't fit into his system, then that could also be a setback. So, yeah, I don't expect much out of the East Carolina Pirates this year, but I love the way the fans show up for their games. I love their energy, and I'm going to just sit back and watch them. I don't even see many games in here that I could take them as a dog and try to turn over something. I do like the starters coming back on defense, but you know, the offense got to set the tone. If the offense is not setting the tone, the defense sits on the field too long, and I don't care how many returning starters you got, you know, they're going to be tired, they're going to fatigue, and they're not going to be successful at doing that. Now, to go along, just a little fun fact to go along, and this is from the Lindley magazine, to go along with the offense, though, they did get this tight end, Zach Berg. He's a former Florida commit who set out and went to community college for a while. The guy comes in at 6'7", 265 pounds, and he's ready to play ball right away. So that's a good look for them. But East Carolina, any last words on East Carolina?
No, they got my prayers. Hopefully they get to 4 games in the W column.
That's right. So we're going to go ahead and land this plane, and we're going to jump over to the next squad. Here we go, back again. The Temple Owls. Now, we're on the brighter side of things this time. Now, this team has some big-time coaching changes. But this year, they get first-year coach Rod Carey, who's coming in to do a good job right here. After an 8-5 season last year, he inherits 7 on offense, 6 on defense, and he's ready to do some work, y'all. Now, on offense, he gets a QB. It's always good to have an experienced QB with 2 wide receivers to go with it. Senior wide receivers are excellent in college football. And he gets a left guard and a right guard. So he pieced up a line. He got somebody to throw it to, and he got a quarterback. You know, if the line comes together, they'll open up the running game. And then on defense, he gets back a D tackle, 3 linebackers, a cornerback, and a safety. So this team is ready to go. And they didn't have such a bad season last year. 8-5 is not that bad. So they come back. They look bowl-bound this year. And I kind of like the Temple Owls right here, maybe for a few upsets or a few chances when they're the favorite that they're going to just dominate. What you think about this team right here, BigRagoo?
Temple's got a lot of promise. Like you said, the new head coach, Rod Carey, you know, he's got a lot of experience. Most of his experience comes out of the MAC, which we all know how potent those MAC teams can be in those Wednesday night games, right? So he's an offensive-minded guy. He brings a lot of solid schemes to this team. Now, don't forget, the team had Manny Diaz for a day, which kind of did a 180 and went back to Miami. So they kind of brought him in from Northern Illinois. And I really like this coach a lot for this squad. And Temple, last year, they were like number 2 and number 3 on offense and defense collectively in the AAC. So they've got a lot of promise. They upset Cincinnati last year in an OT game, and they're projecting them, like, I think, for the 4th. But I think this team kind of might surprise a lot of people. The only downside, even though the coach is very talented and he does have some talent to work with, you know, he does have to acclimate himself to the squad because it's very early in the coaching career for him over there at Temple. So he doesn't have a lot of his recruits. So we'll see what he does with the talent he has. I think he's a good coach. I think he's got a lot of talent to work with. And if they kind of even equal what they did last year, there are going to be a lot of surprises, a lot of upset-minded games for Temple coming up this season.
Well, just a couple extra ones on my note. I'd have to say defensive coordinator Jeff Knowles is stepping on the scene, and that's going to help a lot for Temple right here. Now, they were already averaging about 410 yards per game last year. I expect them to do the same this year. quarterback Anthony Russo. He's going to be nice out there. So another interesting fact on this one, top newcomer, defensive back, Harrison Hand. He comes over, transferred from Baylor. So that helps out the defense even more. So it sounds like a lockdown secondary, a good linebacker core, and a little work to do on the defensive line. But I like the Temple Owls. I'll see what they do. Nothing. I don't want to go too far in it, find myself biased on them or anything like that. But with the returners they got, even to say that they were going after Diaz, that shows that the school backs them and they want to do some big things. So I'm gonna keep a watch eye on Temple Owls and look for them in some spots where they could be the favorite over a team that they may get a chance to dominate. I'll probably shy away from them in the big games unless they just give a ridiculous spread. But this year, they see Maryland at home. They also have to see Georgia Tech, who's switching over from the triple option to a spread offense. They got to see Memphis. They got to see Central Florida, all at home. And they also got to run out to Cincinnati towards the end of the season. So, this is a pretty balanced schedule right here, and that's what it takes sometimes. You don't want a little fluff cake schedule to where you get so far, and as soon as you have to face a tough opponent, you're not prepared. This one, the schedule is kind of in and out, up and down, gives them a lot of balance, and I expect at least an 8-5, if not a 10-2 team this year. What you thinking, BigRagoo?
Well, listen, last year they beat Houston, top team. They beat South Florida, top team. They beat Cincinnati, top team. Their losses came early in the season to Villanova, which is a shocker, right? They were probably sleeping on that one. Buffalo was pretty good last year. And they lost at Boston College and UCF and the last game at home to Duke. But the games that they won were top quality wins against top-ranked teams in their conference. So they're probably walking around with some bullseyes on their backs for a lot of revenge games for those top-tier teams in their conference. So they better be on their toes and ready to play. But like I say, they got the talent, and whether they adapt to the new coaching system and how we put them into play. Like last year, they ran a 2-quarterback system, and I don't know if they're going to do that again this year. But Russo's a pretty talented kid, and they got a lot of good looks on the team. So I'm looking forward to watching them play some football.
That's what's up. And once again, you heard it right here on the Boss and the Sauce show, live and direct, giving you all the great information. Stay tuned. Let's go over to another team. Yes, y'all. Just what you've been waiting for in the AAC, the UCF Knights. We're going to go over the UCF Knights. Now, the UCF Knights are out of Orlando, Florida. How beautiful. Josh Heupel is a second-year coach here, and he's come to do a good job. Now, everyone knows, since the media and everything, about the situation with the quarterback, with Wimbush coming over from Notre Dame, the quarterback from last year breaking his leg, and a bunch of other stuff. But the quarterback situation is something we got to sit back and watch here. But outside of that, this guy brings back 8 on offense, 5 on defense. On offense, he gets a running back, 2 wide receivers, a right guard, and a right tackle. And on defense, he gets back a defensive end, a linebacker, 2 corners, and a free safety. Now, the secondary situation at this school is supposed to be locked down right here. These are some good, top-notch guys in the secondary. UCF kind of got their foot in their mouth, and they got to show and prove after saying that they were buried in Notre Dame. As soon as their quarterback got hurt, they went out. So they talked a lot of stuff last year. This year, they coming to back it up, and they got the returners to do that. And I don't see many teams in the AAC who propose a big challenge. But the question still will remain about Wimbush. BigRagoo, what's your input on this UCF team?
Those of you that followed me last year knew I was all over UCF for some big games last year. Made some good coinage with these guys. Josh Heupel, first-year coach last year. I mean, this team is all about tempo, scoring points, getting a number, a high number of plays in per possession, getting, points per yards per point. They're big at that. And I'll tell you, defensively speaking, not a bad look last year. They're solid in the secondary, like you mentioned. And the quarterback position is going to be the big question mark here. They're bringing Winbush, graduate transfer from Notre Dame. We know about that look there. And they still have Randy Shannon, defensive side of the ball. Their main challenge is probably going to be Memphis and their on the other side, and then Cincinnati and their division. So they're projected to win their side of the division, and they got them looking at a 10-3 overall schedule, maybe 6-2 in the conference. So I see a second-year coach in Heupel. I see a team that's motivated and wants to play football, and I see a lot of points being scored again. And I see another exciting football season coming up for the UCF Knights.
Now, with one loss last year to LSU, they looked very impressive going into this one. Although when the quarterback went down last year, they looked like they was going to lose it, but they did end up pulling it off. Now, this year, they draw Stanford at home. They also got to play Houston, and they go to Cincinnati. So they don't have many obstacles in the road in this one, and that makes me go a little more pro UCF in this conference. They have the best offensive line. They're going to have one of the best secondaries, and they have a chip on their shoulder because they're trying to be dominant. And the AAC is one of those conferences, just like the Mountain West, that's kind of building right now, and they're becoming more prominent amongst other conferences, and they do so by staying relevant. You see all the coaching changes. You see all the returning players. You see all the top star recruits. And that's what's going on over here in the AAC. Shout out to the UFC Knights. I'm backing them. But I got to see what goes on with Winbush. What about you, BigRagoo?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question mark is the quarterback position. Don't forget there's a lot of talented football players in the state of Florida. The kids that don't commit to the bigger universities. I mean, in itself, the campus is a huge size campus, just like the one in Tampa, USF. So there's a lot of talent to go around in football. And like you said, chip on their shoulder. When these kids don't get picked up by the Floridas and the Florida States and the Miamis, they want to show out on the field and play their game. And that's what they do. And like you say, with Heupel coming on board last year, all about tempo for these kids. And they bought into the system. And I think he's going to even improve a little bit further. But I'm really, really curious about that quarterback transfer from Notre Dame.
So stay tuned to the Boston Sauce Show. We are going to be having UCF on our watch list, and we're going to keep an eye on it, and we'll keep you updated. Next team up, right back at you with another AAC team breakdown right here. We're going for the South Florida Bulls this time. And yes, this team is coming off a 7-6 year right here. They have Coach Charlie Strong in his third year over at this program, and they return 9 on offense, 6 on defense. They got the quarterback, the running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, and a left guard, and a right tackle, all coming back on offense. This should really help them out a lot, along with the offensive coordinator, Karen Bell. But I don't trust the South Florida Bulls as far as I can throw them. But they are a great team. 7-6 was a low mark. I expect them to do a little bit better this year with all the returning. And over on defense, they're returning a defensive end, a defensive tackle, another defensive end, a linebacker, a cornerback, and the strong safety. So they're kind of stacked in returners right here. Third year coach. Third year is a very, very, very special year for head coaches in college football. That's when your recruits meet your system and the coaches are acclimated to do a good thing. Now, with the background on Charlie Strong in this one, I expect him to do a great job with these and maybe pull off an upset against UCF this year. What you think about that, BigRagoo?
Yeah, well, Charlie Strong has got a lot of history here in the state of Florida. He's probably one of the top recruiters in the state. Very likable individual. He's from the Tampa Bay area, which That's where the university is. He recruits really well down there. And the most shocking thing of looking at their stats from last year to this year, or prior year, is they had a 18-point differential from where they had a plus 14 point differential to a minus 3.5. So that's like an 18-point swing. So it's like the 5th worst in the country, as far as point differential goes. So they slid down the scale, and a lot of it's attributed to sloppy play and discipline. And that really shocks me coming from a Charlie Strong team. Now, he did go out and get Kerwin Bell and hired him, excuse me, as the offensive coordinator. And Kerwin Bell's got he was a Division II national champion. He's a former Florida Gator. He's from this area. I know him well. And he's probably going to spark that offense with all those returning starters, 9 of them, like you said. I see a lot of room for improvement there. I think in the conference, they were giving up, they were scoring right at 23 points a game, which is 10th in the conference. And defensively, they definitely had their struggles. So I think that'll be a good tandem to coach those youngsters up. There's a lot of talent there. They just got to put the discipline on the field and get the job done.
I totally agree with you, BigRagoo, and also want to add that they're doing about 436 yards on offense as well. That's not a lot of room to go too much higher. What are we expecting? 500 yards a game? But if they are going to be that team with those returners, then that's what they're going to have to do. So I do expect at least what they done last year. So definitely a 7-6 season, but maybe they'll move their win total up to about 8 or 9. That'll be a good spot for them. But they definitely on shaky grounds with me. I don't really trust them overall. But third year coaching is very significant, and Charlie Strong is a very smart coach. And you got to keep your eye on these guys right here. This team, just like a lot of other teams in the AAC, because this conference is on the rise, is definitely back on the watch list. Any other remarks on this team?
Yeah, just mainly discipline. If they can just clean things up. I mean, you said they had over 440 yards a game. That's a lot of yards. I mean, college ranks 600 yards is a ton of yardage, but 4 and change is nothing to sneeze at. And to me, it's just like they're not taking care of the football. They're making bad plays, penalties, whatnot. So if they tighten it up and get that offensive production where it needs to be, they should equate some more points on the board than what they have scored last year.
Now let's take a look at the schedule that they draw. Now they open up against Wisconsin, which is a very tricky game to me. They have Wisconsin ranked very, very low this year, and I just don't trust that. Like Wisconsin, they don't do nothing spectacular. They pride themselves, just like all the big teams, in doing what they do very well. Athletes or not, it's the system and the program, not the players. So they could catch an L opening up against a school like Wisconsin. But then they go see Georgia Tech, who's also scary, going from the option over to a spread offense with the new coach. But then they have a bunch of little easy games, Connecticut, SMU. They do have to play Navy. And towards the end of the schedule, they see Temple, Cincinnati, Memphis, and then they're at UCF for the big game, the rival. Doesn't look too promising. Pretty rough schedule this year. 7-6, maybe 8 wins. I give them 8 wins tops.
Yeah, they're going to get beat up down the stretch here. They got to play Temple, Cincinnati, Memphis, and at UCF. Those are 4 L's just looking at the sheet. If they base it off the schedule that they played last year and the style of football they played last year. Now, if they get a little momentum going, I mean, anything can happen, because like I say, they do have talented players. Just got to clean things up a little bit. And Wisconsin, who knows what happens there? Georgia Tech, that could be a tough game too. First time they're not. Now, Georgia Tech, you did say they have a new coach, right? So they're not running. Paul Johnson's retired, so they're running a spread offense versus the old military style offense. So who knows how they can defend that? But yeah, definitely. I could easily be 6-6, or they could be a 9-3 team. Who the heck knows?
So you heard it here first on the Boss and the Sauce Show. I'm going to send y'all out with a little song from what we was just capping right here. When I say South Florida Bulls, I think 4 L's, 4 L's, 4 L's, 4 L's. Yo, stay tuned. What up, though? Yes, I hope you watched all of our breakdowns individually of each team. Now we're gonna go ahead and wrap this on up. BigRagoo, how you feeling, man?
We're getting there, brother. We're gonna knock these games out individually. I think we got 12 games to put a quick stamp of approval on, and then we're gonna jump into a couple little things that we like, what we're gonna look for on each side of the conference, and we're gonna do a top two on the East and the West at the very end.
So first off, we're gonna do this thing we call first start. I'm gonna give BigRagoo a game of the conference, and he's gonna give you his first thought on that game. So first up, BigRagoo, August 31st, UCLA at Cincinnati. First thought?
First thought is a tough game for UCLA on the road at Cincy. Cincy's probably going to be well prepped for this game. My thought is Cincinnati gets a W at home.
Okay. Next up, August 31st, Houston at Oklahoma. First thought.
Houston at Oklahoma. That's going to be Dana Holgerson's first game as Houston coach, going on Oklahoma, going up against Jalen Hurts at his first game in Oklahoma. I'm going to go with Riley and Hurts at home against Houston.
All I have to say about that game is over, over, over. Now, I'm going to give you my first thought. August 31st, Ole Miss at Memphis. First thought, very tough game. But I like Memphis at home. We're looking for Memphis to have a big season this year. Now, next up, BigRagoo, September 14th, Stanford at Central Florida. First thought.
Stanford, a long road trip from California all the way to Orlando. It's going to be a good game. I think Stanford's probably going to bring the discipline and the defense in that particular game. UCF is going to be a little different story for them. They're going to try to spread that Stanford line around. I'm going to roll with the UCF Knights at home in that one in a close game.
Okay, what about September 19th, Houston at Tulane? First thought.
My first thought is Houston, but my brain's telling me Tulane. First-year coach at Houston. I don't like taking first-year coaches early in the season. Tulane is a team on the rise, a sleeper team. I think they squeak the victory out at home in an upset, taking Tulane at the house.
I'm sort of with you right there. My first thought is leave it on the line. Let's see what the line is for that game on September 19th. Now, September 26th, Navy at Memphis. This is an easy one for me. How about you? First thought.
Yeah, first thought that Memphis in an easy game. You know, probably not a high-powered game for Navy because, you know, they're going to run that option. I think Memphis's defense is good enough to slow Navy down, and we'll see if Navy can hold Memphis at bay on the other side. But I think Memphis wins by 2 scores in that game.
Absolutely, and I got Memphis for a 9-win season, and this will be one of those games right here. Next up, October 4th, Central Florida at Cincinnati. This is going to be my first thoughts. This is going to be a nice home game for Cincinnati. And again, on this one, I might be leaning over, but we'll have to see what the story is with Wimbush from UCF. And by October 4th, we'll definitely know what the deal is. Next up for you, BigRagoo, October 12th, Cincinnati at Houston.
Yeah, so that's back-to-back games, tough games for Cincinnati. They got to play at home, then they got to go on the road the next week at Houston. I think Houston will be well prepped for this game. And like I say, I don't like betting first-year coaches early in the season, but here we are, middle of October, and I think Houston will probably get their legs underneath them with the new coach. I'm going to take Houston at home.
Okay, next up, right out of your neck of the woods, October 26th. I don't know if we'll be in Vegas yet, but we might be close to getting there. October 26th, UCF at Temple. Where you at on that one?
Yeah, that's going to be a tough game also. I still like I'm going to call myself a homer on that one. I'm going to take UCF on the road. Temple will probably be well prepped for that game. They won last year 40. It says 52-40 in Orlando. So we'll see if Temple's got revenge on their mind. But I look for another close game up there. maybe UCF squeezes that one out also. I don't know if it's going to be such a high-scoring game because I think Temple is going to probably try to figure out a scheme to slow them down a little bit. But I think UCF will get the win on the road.
Absolutely. And once again, that all will tell on Wimbush, and we won't know that until October 26th. Now, let's hurry up and speed through these. We got 3 left, but these are 3 bangers right here. These are 3 games that I'm really looking forward to watching. This is November 16th, Memphis at Houston. Memphis with a bunch of returning defensive players. Houston with this high-flying offense. This should be a great matchup. My first thoughts is I just want to watch the game. How about you, BigRagoo?
Yeah, that ought to be a barn burner, that one there. You got the new coach. Like I say, late in the season, Memphis is probably like in full swing mode. By that time, they're thinking probably AAC championship game. As a matter of fact, that's probably going to be the implicating game that determines who plays against UCF or Cincinnati on the other side. So that's going to be a tough one to call. I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to take Houston in this game.
Okay, then we got this was a big traditional game, but it's going to be a nice matchup this year. It's definitely going to be a good watch. That's going to be USF at UCF. You will be the Dundada, the king, the leader, everything on this game right here. I'm gonna give my first thought. I'm gonna let you hold yours because we're gonna need that on November 29th. And this game is definitely gonna go right back to Wimbush. If Wimbush is doing well with the run pass offense and everything works out as they figured, at this point, they will bulldoze South Florida. But if all hope's well and some things come together for South Florida, they may be a contender in this one. But I don't see South Florida winning any big games because of the soft schedule. They could just win the soft games and go to a bowl. So I definitely like UCF on this one. And last one for our armed forces. Much respect, much love. Army versus Navy. Easy call, right? What you like in that one, BigRagoo?
I gotta stick with the Army Black Knights. They probably a good underplay. Like last year, I tried to get cute and play the over in that one, and it came close. I needed one more score, didn't get there. So this year, I'm just probably gonna sit back and enjoy it, unless something really jumps off the charts for me. But I'm not gonna try to get cute this year. I'm going to respect my servicemen in uniform and enjoy the festivities.
That's right there. All I say is Army, Army, Army. They played such an exceptional season last year, and they played tough. That I'm just looking forward to see Army do their thing again this year. Now, let's move things over to our watch list. Now that we done told y'all all the best games, we told y'all each team individual breakdown, we're going to give you what's on our mind and what we're definitely watching for the AAC in 2019. I'll start, BigRagoo. My watch list off top is definitely going to be Tulane. I'm taking them to definitely win 9. I'm also taking Memphis to win 9. And I'm also got my eye closely on Wimbush to see what he do. And I'm also watching that first game against UCLA for Cincinnati. And those are my watch lists right there. How about you?
Yeah, mine isn't as big as yours, but I'm with you on that Tulane, the Green Wave. I'm really looking forward to see what kind of product they put on the field with the new offensive coordinator. Defensively, they're going to be stout. So I think a little up-tempo look from them could be a good play-on team early in the season. And then also on the other side, real interesting look to me is going to be that Temple Owl squad. With they didn't land Manny Diaz as the head coach. They're a very talented team. We'll see how the Northern Illinois coach comes in and handles business for them. They're going to compete. They're going to be a solid unit. But like I say, another first-year coach coming in, probably just watch them early in the season and probably a little play action on them later in the season. So I'm going to be watching the Temple team, and I'm going to be watching the Tulane team.
Now, we appreciate everybody tuning in every time they tune in to everything we do. And this is the Boss and the Sauce Show. So we're gonna wrap this one up with our last thing right here, which will be, who do you think will be the top 2 in each side of the conference here, BigRagoo?
On the East, I'm going to say UCF, University of Central Florida Knights, and the Cincinnati Bearcats on the East. And I'm going to go with the Memphis team and the Houston team on the West. Memphis, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati. Those are my 2 tops.
Now, is that in that order, or those are just your 2 tops?
Yeah, UCF number 1, Cincinnati number 2, Memphis number 1, Houston number 2.
Now, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, and since my real outlook of Wimbush is that he's gonna be a flock, I'm gonna take Cincinnati at the number 1 spot over there in the East, and I'm gonna leave UCF at the number 2 spot because they got a soft schedule. They definitely got a chance to hold the number 2 spot down. And plus, they're inferior to a lot of the teams in their conference that's under them. So they always have an extra edge, despite if they have a bust in the quarterback like Wimbush. But over in the West, I definitely like Memphis a lot. I see 9 wins for Memphis, but I really like Houston with the high-powered offense. So I'm going to go Houston, Memphis, and just for a little bit of measure and some fun, I'm going to give a 3rd one, and I'm going to take Tulane in the number 3 spot in the ACC. So, that's it right there, y'all. I don't know what else to say. If you have any questions, comments, meet us in the premiere, access, email, DM us. Make sure you follow the BigRagoo 62 and DJ BigBoss on Twitter, and make sure you subscribe, like, and tell a friend about this show. Anything else you got for him, BigRagoo?
No, my friend. We just want to thank everybody for jumping on in with us again. Hopefully you guys are getting some good value out of the talks we're bringing to you guys. And we're getting ready, like you say, day by day, closer and closer to the college football season kicking off. We're just days away, so stay tuned, and we'll definitely be back with our next conference. Probably record another show tomorrow, and then we'll be releasing them day by day. So always be checking back, check your DMs, check your alerts, check the channel. We'll have content for you day in, day out.
There it is there. And guess what, BigRagoo? I'll see you at the window.
I'll see you at the window.
We out.
We out.